Hello and welcome to the May edition of Community Connect, brought to you by the Marshall Area Chamber of Commerce. This month's guest is Director of Public Safety of Marshall, Jim Marshall. Thanks for being our guest.
Brad, thanks for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yes.
It's time to bring you back. Let's talk about everything that happened in April. April was a busy month. The museum has had a lot of fun things going on this past month in April, including an escape room experience. If you've never been to an escape room experience, it's well worth it. For the escape room experience goes to the school out at the Lyon County Fairgrounds. It's like the one building school out at the fairgrounds. So be sure to sign up if you are looking for something to do. It's actually going to be now, it's been such high demand, it's actually going through Memorial Day weekend. So be sure to sign up for that. You can look at it, find that sign up on the website. The United Way Power the Purse event was held on the 11th at KB's again. My wife went to this, and it was packed. All money that was raised will support local initiatives that will help prepare young children in our area for kindergarten. So thanks to Meg over at the United Way and all the volunteers that put that event together. All the money that was raised will support local initiatives that help prepare young children in our area for kindergarten. World Fest was a big success on the 15th at the Red Baron Arena. When I pulled up, I had to park in the softball field because it was so full. So congrats to the Visit Marshall team, SMSU, and for the City of Marshall for pulling this together. Of course, this event used to be called the International Food Fest or International Food Event of some sort. I forget what it was called, but they kind of rebranded it last year, and now it's a very successful event. So if you didn't make it, try to mark your calendar for the third Saturday in April next year. One of my favorite events, because it's entrepreneurship, is the second annual Spring Kindle Market. Was on the 22nd at the YMCA. Thanks to everyone who came and saw our young business people. Jim, have you ever gone to this event, whether it's the Christmas version or the spring version?
I have not.
It's worth it because all these kids as young as like 5 years old are here and they're selling a product. It could be like greeting cards, it could be baked goods, and they're working their tail off. So I would encourage anybody come mark your calendar for December 9th. That'll be I believe the 5th time that'll be right before Christmas. So mark your calendars for that one. Prairie Home Hospice held their annual event, their annual hospice ball event on the 22nd at Atlantic Place downtown. The theme this year was the Roaring 20s, and what a roaring success it was. Also, about 260 people attended. You know, I went to this event this year, and it was on a Saturday night. I didn't even plan on going. I didn't buy tickets until Friday morning. In fact, I wasn't even going to dress in the Roaring 20s until about 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. We reached out to some of the people we were going with, and they're like, yeah, we're dressing up. I'm like, okay. So I dressed up, and we had a good time. Congratulations to all the volunteers over at Hospice for putting on an awesome event. And finally, our Tigers and Mustangs have finally started their games after a super rough spring of weather and melting snow. Good luck to all of them as they continue their push to the playoffs, which will be about a month from now. So again, this month's guest, Jim Marshall. Jim is the Director of Public Safety, and again, thanks for being here.
Yes.
Jim, can you share with us the mission of the Marshall Police Department and the current structure and rules within the organization?
I can, and I don't want to make this very complex because it's not complex when we talk about the mission of the police department.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. It's to provide quality police services to our community, to the citizens of Marshall. And we can do that a couple of different ways. Really, our goal is to make sure that Marshall's a safe and in order and lawful place to live. We can do that in a couple of different ways, and that's really main way to do it, I think, is build partnerships and relationships with our community to ensure that they're comfortable in reaching out to us in time of crisis and feeling comfortable in reaching out to us when they think that there's information we need to know.
Yeah.
I often tell our staff that the most important part of this puzzle is to ensure that we have a high level of ethical and moral standards and professional conduct. And I hope that we don't let our community down.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, you've been now the Director of Public Safety 5 years now. During your role, what have been some of the challenges or events you've worked through? Because the police department has gone through a lot over the last number of years.
We have, and when I stop and kind of reflect, when I look back over the years, the last 5 years of being the Director of Public Safety, there's a few events that maybe stand out a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the roles that I have with the City Marshal is emergency management director for the City Marshal as well. And early on after I took on this role, I remember standing out in Victory Park, which most people know as Wayside Rest within our community, standing out there and with a couple of engineers on the weir. And the weir I would call is kind of the pressure relief valve for the river. If it's ever going to flood, it's going to go over the banks at that area. And I just remember early on when the engineer said, this wasn't supposed to happen for 100 years. And if this doesn't work, we have a lot of explaining, but you have a lot of work to do, Jim. And fortunately, it worked. So, you know, that we went from an event like that, but those are events that really make you reflect on the good things that have been done in our community, of the flood mitigation projects that have been done 25 years ago that has really prevented a catastrophic event from happening, you know, for this, within the city. You know, I went from that to, you know, I look back to this thing called the pandemic, you know, and working through some of that. The ironic part is right before the pandemic kind of, we started having discussions on that. We had some meetings with city leadership regarding emergency management a week before, and that was to kind of review our emergency operations plan. We have a pretty comprehensive plan in place. It's a document of 300 pages, about so thick. Not once during those conversations did we talk about a pandemic. A week later, we were talking. I was meeting with health professionals, and talking about the devastating impact that this pandemic could have on our community, and a little bit scary. So you go from all of a sudden developing incident action plans to continuity of operations plans for the city. If there's issues of succession plans, if we think that people are going to become ill or worse, that we have to have a plan in place on how you address those issues. To, just working through some difficult times during that. Hopefully that's behind us. And now maybe one of the last things that kind of stands out in my mind is the national incidents that have kind of surrounded police and law enforcement in general. And some of those videos that we've all watched and have been troubling to see, you know, you kind of step back and you're trying to find some positive in those events. And you know, I'm fortunate for the relationships that we've built within the community in the different groups that have different cultural backgrounds, and been able to have open and honest conversations with them. And it's been busy 5 years.
It has been. It has been very much so. And we appreciate all of that you guys have done for the City of Marshall. Recently, the City Council approved purchase of new body cameras for the police department. How has this program been received by your officers, and has it been beneficial to the city?
You know, first of all, I appreciate when you use the word program, because usually when people think of body cameras, you think it's something that you just buy and turn on. And there's so much front-end work that goes into this pre-planning before you ever start a body camera program. You talk about, number one, costs that are associated with it, but data requests. You know, we go into people's homes during stressful times, and you're making recordings, and what of that data is public information, and who can request that data. So a lot of policies, procedures go into place. When do you turn them on? When can you turn them off? Goes into that program before that. I can tell you that from the very beginning, we as a department have been very supportive of the body camera program. A little hesitant because of some of those unknowns with the program, of costs that are associated, the time management of that data, the storage of that data, what that picture would look like. But we knew early on that there was just a tremendous amount of promise with body cameras, that it would bring transparency, not just transparency, but also show the public some of the things that we deal with on a regular basis. So very grateful for them. When we first stepped in the direction of our body camera program, the cost was roughly about $50,000, and that included storage for all the data that we were going to be collecting. This past year, the company that we had been using had been purchased by another larger company. So we knew we had to transition. They would no longer warranty the equipment that we had. So a lot of discussions with the city leadership, with our equipment review committee for the city council, and they made the decision to move in the direction of the Axon body camera product. They're a great company. They supply body cameras to over 70% of all law enforcement agencies, to 90% of your metropolitan departments. So they really know what they're doing. But we're grateful for it. Now, it comes at an expense. This to transition over to our new body cameras over a 5-year period, it's $160,000. And we know that those expenses are going to continue probably into perpetuity with technology.
Yeah.
But we're grateful for them, and our officers have been very receptive to them.
Sure. So you've talked about the challenges over the last several years. What challenges do you see in the future of the city, the police department? It always seems like naive eyes that once you solve something, it seems like there's always something new. I've never even heard of the word fentanyl as of up until about 2 years ago. It even those challenges.
It is, What's interesting, though, is when you stop and reflect over my 30 years, a lot of the challenges haven't necessarily changed. I think, number one, we have to talk a little bit about the mental health crisis that we kind of deal with on a regular basis. We know that we respond to probably 50 calls each month that's related to mental health or to welfare checks of individuals. The good thing that's happened over the last few years is that we started a program, it's called a co-responder program with Western Mental Health. And we have one of their employees, and maybe when we look back at the national incidents with police, some of the issues that we've struggled with lately, one of the pushes was to bring in social workers or counselors to maybe work by our side. So we opened up the door with Western Mental Health and said, if we want to bring in an employee, we're willing to work with them. And we did that for the first couple of weeks, and we had said you can respond on the front end of the calls with us, you can work out of our office, you can get in our squad cars, you can handle all the things that we handle with on a daily basis. And we did that for a couple of weeks, and then I think that mental health worker realized this isn't maybe what he necessarily wanted to do, but knew that he could provide a valuable resource in terms of follow-up. So when we know when there's people in crisis, and in the past we would try to solve the problem and we'd walk away. Now we're able to try to solve the problem, but then pass that individual on to our co-responder mental health professional that will work with them, that will reach out to them, provide them resources, and then do follow-up and get them to appointments that they need to get to. And it's a great program. I hope that we're able to continue. Now, the other challenge you mentioned briefly was the fentanyl, opioid epidemic that we're in. It's a challenge, and, we've always struggled a little bit with the drug trade, and that side of it. And clearly we're in a crisis with the fentanyl, and our drug task force used to deal, when they'd make deals, it'd be in grams, maybe ounces. Now we're pounds, tens of pounds, almost hundreds of pounds at times. So it's a crisis, and it's difficult to see the link to the deaths that are associated with overdoses within our community. It happens, and it's our reality. Which kind of leads into a little bit about one of the challenges that we're going to be facing is going to be legalization of marijuana. That conversation is happening more and more, and we know it's probably going to happen. I can tell you that law enforcement leadership, our Chiefs of Police Association, the Sheriff's Association, has always taken a pretty firm stand against the legalization, and maybe so more on terms of just public safety. We know that roads are going to be more dangerous. Once this passes, we know maybe the frustrating part to some of the leadership would say is the discussions that have taken place, the blatant ignoring topic of the drug trade itself and how dark that is and the problems that can result from that as well. And they just don't have those conversations, but we know it's probably going to pass. The legislature's been pretty vocal. We know the governor is very supportive of passing that as well. So we'll, I guess, wait and see with that.
Yeah, I think last Friday, I think it did pass through. Did it pass through the House and the Senate already? It might be just needing to be signed by the governor at this point.
It's getting close.
Yeah.
Maybe one last challenge that we're facing that I see in law enforcement is recruitment. We knew that we were in a little bit of a crisis probably even 5 years ago, and that was even before some of these national incidents that took place. We had some discussions with local leadership. Law enforcement leadership had met with Department of Public Safety to discuss, the long-term plan in terms of recruitment of police officers. 10 years ago, when you look at statistics, our Police Officer Standards and Training Board keeps statistics of testing and licensed officers. 10 years ago, you'd have 1,000 people that would take the test and you'd maybe hire 500 of them. So there is a big pool to pick from. Well, now we're already upside down to where we're having less people take licensing exams and we have more jobs to offer than people taking the test. So we're in trouble, you know, and we just try to come up with ideas to recruit young, good, kind people, compassionate people into law enforcement. It's a great profession. I've always said I feel I have one of the best jobs in the world, and I truly do. I always feel, I've told other people I have a front row seat to one of the greatest shows on earth. And it's sometimes hard to give that seat up, but we need good people, and we need to know people, the good things that come about of being in a profession like this.
That's great. Well, you know, from my eyes, we appreciate everything that you do for Marshall. We're always grateful. Community is very grateful, and I think, you know, thank you. Thanks for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Let's talk about all the good things that are happening here in May, this upcoming Saturday. So today we're recording this on Tuesday, May 2nd. This upcoming Saturday is the 6th, and the second Youth Sports and Activity Expo will be in place. So this is an opportunity to get your children out to see what kind of activities they could be interested in the future. It's going to be anything from like the traditional sports to scouts to baton, you name it, it'll be there this upcoming Saturday. On the 13th, take part in the Vera Race Against Cancer. This is to support local patients and families fighting through all types of cancer. You can sign up to walk, run, or be a Sideline supporter. This starts at 9 o'clock at a Vera Marshall's Bruce Street campus. There will be a 5K fun run beginning at a Vera Marshall. Have you ever run a 5K or anything?
No.
No.
I wish I could.
No, I maybe have ran 2 or 3 gobble wobbles and the Shamrock Shuffles, but it's been a couple of years, and I probably won't be there on the 13th either. But anyway, good luck to Vera, and we appreciate all that you do for the patients here in town. The Spring Craft and Vendor Show will be on the 13th at the Red Baron Arena from 9 to 3. Oh, this has been going on for, I don't know, 5-6 years. Cassie out of Visit Marshall does an incredible job. That's a good day to go shopping right before Mother's Day, Jim.
Yeah. It's coming quick.
Yeah, you've been to the Spring and Vendor Show a few times.
Yeah, yes, it's very good.
It is a good time, but it is on the 13th, 9 to 3. Go shop, and shop for your mothers and wives and daughters, or whoever you want to go shop for. The Lyon County Museum is hosting a 10-year anniversary open house on the 16th from 4 to 6, program at 6 o'clock. I also want to do a plug for all the 3rd Street businesses. So 3rd Street businesses, that whole 3rd Street is being torn up right now. Please go shop. Stop at the museum. Go to all the businesses, get some shopping. Whether it doesn't matter which day it is. Please go support our businesses. They are not closing during this construction time. The Minnesota craft beer and wine scene all in one night is going to be at the Red Baron Arena on the 20th from 3 to 6. Breweries and wineries from across the state will have samples for you to sip in your made in Minnesota commemorative glass. If you want to attend this, I think this is also about the 4th or 5th year for this event. Tickets do sell fast and they normally sell out. You can find tickets at visitmarshallmn.com. Finally, we have a number of chamber events in May, but I wanted to highlight a couple things. One is going to be our Business After Hours on the 24th at the True Shrimp Companies in Ballton. It's going to be featuring Marshall High and Murray County Central High School students from 5 to 7. And it's going to be these students have been working on building their business this whole school year. It's through the CEO program, which stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. If you would have watched back in probably about December or November, you would have met a couple of those students here on Community Connect. It's a business expo, so you can walk through to see these kids, and some of them have established businesses, including my son. So it is a lot of fun. 5 to 7 on May 24th. Have you been following that CEO group? Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities? It's great. You know, these kids are learning soft skills through this program, how to shake hands, look people in the eye, and you know, this isn't the last time either. I mean, there's going to be kids, they're going to be applying for it right now. There's a signing event next week. So these kids from it's Murray County Central, Tracy Schools, and Marshall Schools will all be have another class. It starts at 7:15 in the morning. It's pretty early for these kids to either get to Slayton or for Slayton to come here, but they're doing it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, it's a great program. All of these events can be found on our website, marshallmn.org, or on the visit site at visitmarshallmn.com. A couple of quick reminders. Coupon books are still on sale. They're over $5,000 worth of savings in this year's book, and they're still good for 7 months, the rest of the year, 8 months, or whatever it is. So that's it. That's what we have for May. Jim, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks for watching this month. Next month, we have Executive Director of Restore, Colton Satrowski. They just moved their location to the old Aber building on East College Drive. So we'll hear from Colton and about their move and everything that they're offering over at Restore. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in June.